What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Monday. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. Appreciate you tuning in wherever, however you're tuning in on this fine May 6th morning. DK Show up on the air on your radio dials of 105.1 FM, 790 AM, also available online, sportstalk1051.com. You can stream it up over there. Got the app, take it on the go, download, take it on the go, smart devices, video streams up and rolling, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. What do we got? What do we got for ourselves here on the good old game plan for us this morning? Brewers falling to the Cubbies. They picked up a win on Friday in their first matchup. Hey, shout out Ricky Weeks. The wins don't count. Goes on Pat Murphy's records, but hey, Ricky Weeks, we all know he's 2-0 right now as manager. But nonetheless, Brewers picked up the win on Friday, but falling the last two games, Saturday and Sunday, to former friend, now foe, Craig Counsell and the Chicago Cubbies over there. So Brewers still holding on by the slightest of slight edges in terms of first place in the division. Got win percentage over there. So very small. It's like 0.006, but nonetheless, Brewers are in first place right now. They'll try to get back at it, or they will get back at it, but they'll try to get back at their winning ways starting tonight as they begin a 3-game series against the Kansas City Royals. So those games, first two, tonight and tomorrow, 6:40 getaway day, Wednesday at 1:10 before we're finally returning home to take on the St. Louis Cardinals for 4 games. So, and then, Twins wise, I guess you can't win them all. Their 12-game winning streak snapped yesterday by the Boston Red Sox. So, Twinnies will try it up there, but heck of a turnaround for the Twins. Wasn't that long ago. I mean, their last loss was on April 21st, was against the Tigers. And, we talked about it. It wasn't, looking good for the Twins. Not a very good start to the season for the Twinnies. But you win 12 in a row, that instantly changes things around for you. So they're back in the thick of things, winning record and such. So, but a fantastic run for the for the Minnesota Twins. So we'll talk some baseball throughout the morning here. Recap and preview what's on deck for the crew, for the Brew Crew. Hoops wise, obviously the Bucks are not in it, but the Minnesota Timberwolves with a big time win going back to Saturday against the Denver Nuggets there. Big time win against the Nuggets, taking game 1. They're going to be back at it tonight for game 2. But Timberwolves taking one on the road right away. It was a good game. It was an entertaining game. If anybody didn't get a chance to watch it, taking it all in with the Anthony Edwards era right now. That dude is special. But 106-99. I mean, I don't know of too many Bucks fans that aren't cheering for the Timberwolves. I know it's a Minnesota thing and such, but I'm going for the T-Wolves here right now. I know I got a thing about not cheering for rival states, rival sports states and such. I'll go for the Timberwolves, and it's what I've got some personal connections to the franchise over there, such. So yeah, I'll got to go for. I mean, Anthony Edwards right now. I'm just kind of like, I mean, this guy, 43 points in that game, but what a sweet block, and then a ridiculous technical in the game. You made a play at the rim, dunk, and kind of had a little stare down to his opponent, and they called a technical foul, and I'm just like, are we? Rightfully so. Reggie Miller just went off, and Jamal Crawford, I think, was Jamal Crawford as the other announcer on there. They were just going off on the call, and I'm just thinking back, Jordan and Kobe back in the day, they would have been teed up constantly for stuff like that. So to me, weak call for taunting. But Anthony Edwards, man, this dude is, whew, he's special. And the scary thing is, the absolute scary thing about Anthony Edwards is that he's probably going to just get better with more experience. I mean, the kid's what, 22 years old? Yeah, 22 years old, and he's just going to get better. So if you're a Hoops fan and maybe you don't know a whole lot about Anthony Edwards, you've heard of him. I mean, he was the first pick in 2020, and yeah, you're like, oh yeah, good player. No, this guy is becoming special right before our eyes. So I will maybe throw a little hoops talk in there. Stanley Cup playoffs also continuing to roll on here. So we'll take a look at that. I mean, we had a couple of game sevens in the sports world yesterday. The Cavs taking down the Magic, although the Magic blowing a lead early on in the game, and the Cavaliers able to make that comeback and secure the victory. But Dallas taking down the defending champs, Vegas Knights, in Game 7. So Stanley Cup playoffs continuing to roll on here too. So we'll kind of take a look at all the playoff action that's currently going on in the basketball and hockey world. Football wise, Packers had their rookie camp over this past weekend. So again, it's a lot of it's just in shorts and such, but man, there's a lot of excitement surrounding this group and surrounding this team. I was kind of following along with some of the writers who cover the Packers and such. I mean, this is our first glimpse of these rookies in Packer stuff, or even for a lot of people, probably the first time you've seen some of these players. You heard their name getting called on draft day, and you're like, okay, I don't know a whole lot about them. So this was your first glimpse, maybe, of kind of seeing them in action. But Wes Hodekowitz, who covers Packers, Packers.com, initially got his start at the Green Bay Press Gazette. He had this to say: that felt like one of the most competitive Packers rookie mini camp orientations that I have covered. Meanwhile, the rookie draft picks at inside linebacker and defensive backs very much looked the part. Fast and aggressive. Something I think we all were kind of hoping, all kind of thought, but all kind of really hoping to see out there. Sounds like the safeties were kind of being utilized a little bit, playing a traditional safety role in the back end, but also playing up towards the line of scrimmage and, coverage, which again fits the narrative, fits everything that we've heard about, that what they want to do, what Jeff Hafley, new defensive coordinator, wants to do. So we'll go through some of the comments from Matt LaFleur. He talked to the media and such for a little bit. But even the writers are noticing, and maybe this will be news or awesome news for Packers fans to hear. Even the writers noticed big time differences in how they warmed up under a new strength and conditioning coordinator. A lot more stretching. So whether that means that those soft tissue injuries will kind of come down here a little bit, I don't know. But I even feel like when Packers fans saw that on social media, that there was even some changes in the way the Packers were getting ready for warmups and such. Is like, oh, people are already on that. So yeah, there is a crap ton of enthusiasm surrounding this team, excitement surrounding this team, and I get it, and I fully get it. So we'll throw a little football chat in here too. So hey, golf world, we got to give a shout out because this is awesome. Thomas Longbella, former Chippewa Falls native, dude, won a PGA Tour sanctioned event. So remember a couple weeks ago we were talking with Justice. He just missed the cuts by a stroke or such, but then this weekend he wins the Kia Open, his first PGA Tour sanctioned event, first win at a PGA Tour sanctioned event. I know it got rain delayed and cut shorts in there, but That's an early candidate right there for who got the mustard, cream of the crop. Definitely part of the weekend hangover here. Which send us your weekend hangovers. All right, what was the highlights? What was the lowlights from the weekend? All right, hit us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. All right. Highs and lows. The weekend hangover. We'll hit that up. I believe we will catch up with JC Nisi, Justice Cleveland, sports director extraordinaire, too. So we'll do a little local sports roundup, local sports roundup, brought to you out by Amundsen's Appliance Center. So we'll hit that up coming up, let's say about 8 o'clock here this morning. So let's just get at it. All right, pitter patter. Let's get at her. Start to hit me up with some texts on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, on the video stream, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever's easier, whatever's your preference and such over there. So join in on the conversation. All right, let us know what's on your mind. We're gonna lead things off. We'll talk a little baseball to open it up. Brewers dropping 2 out of 3 against the Chicago Cubbies, but still holding on to a slight lead in the division. So we'll take a look at that. But Twins will be looking to start another winning streak for themselves. Brewers begin a series against the Kansas City Royals. On the mound tonight for the Crew will be Wilson. Freddie Peralta picking up his first loss of the season yesterday for the Cubbies too, or for the Brewers, excuse me. So, but Crew 20-13 on the season. Cubs 21-14. Brewers 606 winning percentage, Cubs 600 winning percentage. And right now, I mean, the early goings of this NL Central, like the first month of the season, first few weeks of the season, this was a tight division, and it's still fairly tight. But you had like what at one point every team in the division was above 500 or 500 or better. Now there's just two teams in the NL Central that are above 500. That would be the Brewers and the Cubs, because the third place Cincinnati Reds are 16-18, but just 4.5 back. You got the Pirates 16-19, 5 back. The Cardinals 15-19, 5.5 back. So let's get things going here with the leadoff. We'll talk some baseball to get things going for us on this Monday morning. Happy Monday, everybody. Let's get her going here. All right. Start to hit me up with those texts, those messages, all that good stuff. We'll be back in just a few minutes. This is the time of year where maybe you're starting to do some remodeling projects, home remodeling projects in your home. Maybe you got a little bit of a tax return that's sitting in your bank accounts, and you're looking to figure out, hey, what should I do with that extra cash, extra coin in the pocket? Maybe switch out that flooring in your home and work with our good friends from Carpet City Flooring Center right here in Eau Claire. And the thing is, too, Carpet City Flooring Center goes. I mean, they go all over the place. It's not just Eau Claire. I mean, they've gone over to my old neck of the woods and Taylor County and some of the back roads over there. So, I mean, they get around, they travel. All right. So it's not just Eau Claire or Chippewa or anything like that. So if you are a listener, sorry, Tom, from across the pond, I don't know if they can go to London, although maybe they would like to. I don't know if they can go to the UK or anything like that. But they get around here in our great state of Wisconsin. That's why they are Wisconsin's premier flooring center. So you want to maybe update that flooring in your home, your business, rec room, living room, office, whatever the case may be. Just visit our good friends at Carpet City Flooring Center right here in Eau Claire. The entire team there, just like one big family over there. They're going to work with you to find that flooring that works within your home, that works within your budget, all that good stuff. 3109 East Hamilton Avenue in Eau Claire. Again, that's 3109 East Hamilton Avenue in Eau Claire. I actually got to stop by. Hopefully they're, yeah, I got to go visit Jason over there at Carpet City Flooring Center today, if he's around today. Got to find out. So, but all right, let's roll here this morning. Let's kick off talking a little baseball. By the way, I wanted to throw this question out. I know we kind of dabbled on it with Brandon on Friday. We didn't really get into it a whole lot, and I'd kind of like to revisit it and get your thoughts, Wisconsin sports fans. Okay, so I don't know what the future is going to be like for the Bucks. You know, I'd like to, maybe we can get our crystal ball out here and try to figure out how many more championships the Bucks are going to win with Giannis at the helm. But get ready, because yesterday, or not yesterday, on Friday, shortly after the season was over with, I mean, you had it's a tradition unlike any other. You had articles from national networks out there saying, you know, it's time for Giannis to leave. Is Giannis going to leave? Is Giannis fed up and all that? Like, we all do know that big reason why the Bucks probably didn't advance was because Giannis didn't play, right? I mean, we all kind of know that, right? But or are we just refusing to kind of take a look at that? But anyways, the question we kind of touched on a little bit on Friday that I want to get more of your opinion out there. Those of you listening right now, your opinion on is, if it's just one championship. Now, again, we're all hoping it's going to be more than one championship. We're all hoping it's going to be more. But if it's just one championship for the Bucks and Giannis under the Giannis era, will you be grateful, appreciative, thankful, whatever word we want to use, or disappointed? You know, kind of relate it to the Rodgers and Favre eras with Green Bay. It's debatable for some, but the question does get thrown out there. There's quite a few Packers fans out there that would say that, hey, they should have won more. I'm one of those too. They should have won more. I'm still thankful that they were able to get a championship each. But I think it's also fair to say that, man, they probably should have came away with more than just one apiece. But when it comes to the Bucks, is that a little bit different? Is it a little bit different? Or maybe in your mind, it's like, no, it's not. You got a superstar. You should come away with multiple championships. Because, you know, I feel like in a Brewer sense, a lot of Brewers fans, like, just give us one. Just give us one, and then, you know, we'll kind of, you know, we may not. It's almost like selling your soul, or the crossroads. You know, a 10-year deal is up and that sort of stuff. But He's like, we just want one. And then maybe we'll go through the lows for a while after that. Are you, if it's only just one under the Giannis regime, under the Giannis era for the Bucks, will you be good or will you be disappointed? Kind of like Packers-esque. So think about that for a little bit and maybe hit me up with a text. Again, we kind of dabbled on it. We just kind of threw it out there on Friday, but we never really got into that topic, if you will. So, all right, let's talk some baseball to open up things here this morning. Crew dropping 2 out of 3 against the Chicago Cubs this past weekend. They picked up the win on Friday. A little comeback, a little come from behind one there. Doesn't count on his managerial records or anything like that. But Ricky Weeks 2-0. We all know it. I mean, come on, let's be real. Ricky Weeks should be credited with those wins. For some reason, they go under the Pat Murphy managerial record, but they got the win on Friday in the first game of this series. But Saturday, they tried to make a little comeback there. Ultimately fell 6-5, and then yesterday blanked 5-0. Freddie Peralta's first loss of the season. So now he's at 3-1. Freddie went 5 innings, but it was that 5th inning there that opened up the doors for the Cubs, where they were able to put up 3 in that game and then 1 apiece in the following 2 innings there. So Freddie's final line: 5 innings, 3 hits, 3 earned runs, 6 walks, yeesh, and then just 5 strikeouts. So Brewers, though, will again, as we mentioned, they are still with a slight advantage over the Cubs for first in the division. If that's something you're still kind of paying attention to in the early goings of the season, 20-13 with a .606 winning percentage. Cubs are 21-14, but 600 winning percentage. They are now the only 2 teams in this division that have a winning record, which it wasn't that long ago where we were talking about, hey, every team in this division is a winning record or at least 500 or above. Now it's just 2 teams that have a winning record. No teams are at 500. Next closest is the Reds, 2 games under 500 here. We're actually approaching, believe it or not, too, for the Brewers. We're getting close to the conclusion of the first quarter of the season. We're about 20% of the way through this regular season already. So we're getting close to the completion of that first quarter. We'll do first quarter grades when we get there, but just kind of putting that in the back of your mind right now when we do first quarter grades and that sort of stuff. You know, kind of highlighting certain players who have really stood out and maybe surpassed expectations, you know, getting A's in their first quarter and that. But more injuries dealt with for the Brewers this past weekend, too. Joey Wiemer was placed on the 10-day IL with left knee discomfort. Maybe you saw that play. He went up to feel the ball, and then, like, his knee kind of buckled a little bit. It slipped and, you know, kind of twisted it there. So, but it's nothing too serious. Wiemer actually said it was best news possible. It was a strained popliteus muscle. Apologize if I mispronounced that. We don't have Dr. Crow on today. But apparently it's like a stabilizing muscle within the knee. So maybe just shut down for a couple weeks, and he will be back here. And for anybody wondering about Christian Yelich, because even Hudson, my guy, my 6-year-old, soon to be 7-year-old, it's like, Dad, how bad is Christian Yelich's back? He's been out for a while. He's like, I can't believe he's out this long because of a back. He was actually just talking to me about this yesterday. So he's still expected there. This was from for Brewers.com. He's still expected to be back in May here, but he's been doing, you know, better running, and he's been throwing. And back on Friday, he had his best session yet, apparently, swinging the bat in the cage. And Yelich said that his goal is to play before the end of this Brewers current road trip, which means he would have to play either today, tomorrow, or Wednesday if he were to reach that goal. I almost feel like that's not going to happen. And maybe they're going to make sure he comes back or try to have him come back during that home series against the Cardinals. Could be completely off on that. But maybe finally that we're getting closer to a return of Christian Yelich. And you're talking about a month. It's been almost a month since we have seen Christian Yelich back on the field. It was that April 12th series opener in Baltimore when he went out. So, and I know a lot of us listening right now probably deal with it. Backs could be a finicky thing and such, but man, it just stinks too because the guy was off to a fantastic start. He was off to a great start, displaying some power, displaying some pop. 5 home runs to begin the season. I don't know what he's gonna be or what he's gonna look like when he comes back though. Be nice if he kind of pick up where he left off, but I don't know. I'm not putting a lot of hope into that one. Not to be a Debbie Downer or anything like that. I'm not putting a whole lot of hope in that. So, but what can we say about? I wanted to talk a little bit about William Contreras and such, but he's getting to the point now too. It's like what else can you say about this guy and what he has done so far this season? I can tell you right now, he's probably going to be the MVP of the first quarter. When we get to our first quarter stuff and kind of talk about that, to me, he's the MVP of this team right now, and he's just been uber consistent throughout this entire season so far. I mean, just the model of consistency. Right now, he's on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 game hitting streak, and he's had bouts of like 7, 6. I mean, few games in a row where he's had some hitting streaks going. And all he's doing this year is just hitting a cool 336, 5 home runs, an OPS of a 930, an on base percentage of a 411. Matt Arnold deserves, I think, a ton of credit for making this move. We all thought, I don't want to say we all because maybe there was some that didn't, but a majority of us all thought, when you look at that trade from last year, that 3-team deal, and what the Brewers gave up and what they got in return, like, oh, that seems like a solid win for the crew, getting Contreras from the Braves. But I think so far this has by far exceeded any expectations that people would have thought getting in return with William Contreras right now. Lock this man up. Get him a deal. Go with the new Brewer way and try to lock him up. Although, I mean, the way he's playing, he may not be like, nah, I might want to hold off a little bit and see if I get a bigger payday and such. But if there is any chance for this team, this Brewers team, to go out there and lock him up right now. Just 26 years old. Looking at his contract right now, I mean, he's not even making $1 million this year. And he's not an unrestricted free agent until, this is right, 2028? So, wow, Spotrac really changed up their website, and I don't like this. It's a little bit more confusing to follow here. So, but lock this man up. Get him under the books for the next few years. Get it done. This guy has been easily the MVP for the Brewers. And I know it's just the first quarter of the regular season for Major League Baseball, but this man should be mentioned more in terms of like first quarter MVPs all across the league. Called a little bit of homerism, if you want, but this guy has been leading the Brewers this year. First place team. What he's doing offensively, what he's even doing from behind the plate. Managing this young pitching staff, this inexperienced pitching staff. I think you got to factor that into it. We pay attention so much to the offensive numbers, but you look at what Contreras has been doing with this pitching staff and how he's been working with them. That should also factor into just the fantastic season that he has been having so far. I was looking at MLB.com earlier this morning, and they had a list of 9 hitters that have made changes for the better. And there is a Brewer on there. And it's Bryce Terang. Which, when you think about it on the surface, like, yeah, that makes sense. Right now he's hitting .299, 14 stolen bases. That's his thing, right? That's what we know him about, is stolen bases. But you got to get on base to steal those bases. And a little write-up here says Terang had a rough rookie season, 218, 285, 300 slash lines. But his strengths as a hitter were still pretty evident. Even for how poor his contact was, he did make a lot of it. Rather than going for the complete overhaul, Terang doubled down on what he's historically done well, and now he has one of the lowest whiff rates in baseball, 12.9%. That's in the 96th percentile. Evidently, all that contact is working in his favor, and at that time he was hitting .305, but sitting at .299 right now. No doubt, Bryce Terang is, again, when we get to those first quarter grades, when we talk about most improved, Bryce Terang's, if he's not number one, he's easily on that short list. What he has been able to provide for this offense, stolen bases, being aggressive. By the way, Ricky Weeks going back to Friday, I know it was a few days ago. The man is crazy. 4 stolen bases in an inning. What era, what year does he think this is? It was awesome. It was awesome. That's what led them to get back to their winning ways. But that was awesome. 4 stolen bases in an inning. Yeah. I think a lot of us, maybe a little older school baseball fans, were loving that on Friday, to see that many stolen bases. All right, tonight's matchup, though. Bryce Wilson's, he's going to be on the mound, 2-1 with a 3.0 ERA, kind of stretched out now into a starting pitcher for this staff because of the injuries to the pitching starting staff for the Crew. But initially it was going to be a guy, coming out of the pen, but now kind of stretched out. His last appearance was against Tampa Bay, where he went 6 innings. He got charged with a loss, but did not pitch like a pitcher that was pitching in a losing effort and such. But 4 hits, just 1 earned run in that game. And then the start before against Pittsburgh, where he got a no decision, he went 4 1/3. So kind of stretched out now to be a starter here. But he has been a guy that has, stepped up. Again, early parts of the season. Kind of maybe a little bit of a longer relief role, because there were some instances where he went a couple innings, 2 2/3, 3 2/3, 3 innings here. But now, he's kind of developing into a little bit of starter. Probably going, you're shooting for 6 innings. If you can get 6 innings out of Wilson, that'd be fantastic. But given the role that he's been put in this year and the different, situations he's been put in, he's been pretty darn solid. So he'll be looking for his 3rd win of the season to improve to 3-1. In his last 7 games, too, he started 3 of those. He's had 19 strikeouts, just 5 earned runs. First pitch tonight against the Kansas City Royals, 6:40 640. 640. All right, let's take a quick break here. We'll finish up the first hour. All right. Finish up the first hour coming up here. Get to some of your texts, your thoughts, your comments, all that fun stuff. We'll be back in just a few short minutes. You hitting the road a lot lately, or maybe you're getting ready to? Hey, you better make sure that that vehicle of yours is ready to put on all those miles, which means it's a good idea to maybe get some new tires and get an oil change to help your vehicle perform at its best this traveling season. Where do you go, though? That's pretty simple. ASAP Used Auto Parts in Eau Claire. Not only does ASAP Used Auto Parts have high quality used auto parts to help your budget, but they are also your go to place when it comes to oil changes and getting some new treads, excuse me. So make sure your vehicle is ready to hit the road for another traveling season. Set up your appointment with ASAP Used Auto Parts today and have a safe and memorable traveling season. Oh, we got about 10 minutes to the top of the hour here. So I want to get to a little green and gold chats coming up next hour, the beginning of next hour there. We had rookie orientation, rookie mini camp, whatever the heck they call or we want to call it. So we're going to go through some of the comments and such uh, from from Matt LaFleur and some of the rookies, kind of our first glimpse of for a lot of those guys, especially in the green and gold. So we'll hit that up coming up in the next hour. So we're gonna throw out that question at the beginning too. If let's say, and we're all hoping we're gonna get some more, but let's say, for argument's sake, Giannis and the Bucks only have one championship. Would you be grateful? Would you be appreciative? Would you be thankful? Would you be good with that or happy with that? I don't want to say good with that because we all want more. Or would you be really disappointed? A la Rodgers, Favre, each only getting one. I'm kind of curious to see where it's at because I believe too that maybe is it fair to say though too expectations are a little bit different when it comes to the Packers, maybe compared to the Bucks and the Brewers, or do those expectate or is that not a thing? Because you know what, if you've got the mindset of you got a superstar on your team, that you got to get multiple championships. Then it doesn't matter the league, it doesn't matter the franchise. You got a superstar. You got to come away with multiple championships. Where are you on the fence of that? Kind of curious to get your gauge on that. And I know when we compare Packers fans to Bucks fans, there's more Packers fans. Let's be real. There's more Packers fans than there are Bucks fans around here. We get that. We know that. We understand that. So there's probably a lot of people out there saying, "Nah, I don't give a rip. If the Bucks win, yeah, good, cool, awesome, great." But I'm not going to be upset or disappointed like I am if Green Bay doesn't win with every few years or such. Expectations. It depends on the fan base too. So, somebody had asked me if I watched the Tom Brady roast on Netflix. One, I'll be honest, I forgot about it. So no, I did not watch it. But if it's still on there, I'm assuming it'd still be on Netflix. It wasn't, it was live and such. Wasn't it live yesterday? I don't know. But anyways, I'm assuming it's still up there. So I did not see it. I've seen some clips that have been kind of out there on the X/Twitter and Facebook. I've seen some zingers and one-liners and all that. So I did not watch it. Did not watch it. So I can't give you was it good? Anybody watch it? Was it good? Is it worth my time to I mean some of the stuff I saw on there looked kind of funny. Who would be like a good athlete, sports figure you think would make a really good roast? Like throw out there. I mean, I feel like I don't know if he would ever do it, but I honestly feel like Aaron Rodgers would be a good one for a roast. Throw him out there for all the stuff, the last few years and such. Throw him out there and get roasted and such. I feel like he'd be a good one. Speaking of Rodgers, not to bring up, Rodgers drama, Rodgers stuff or anything like that, because he's with the Jets and that. But I saw this on Twitter /X, whatever you want to call it. And it's been now deleted, but this was from Amari Rodgers, former Packers receiver, that let's call it what it is, had a disappointing career for Green Bay, right? Former third round pick, didn't play up to some of the expectations we had. And first of all, it's kind of he deleted the tweet, but at first blush, it's like, all right, he went out there and he kind of called them out. So there was this story or this report that Jets rookie wide receiver Malachi Corley said that Aaron Rodgers offered to let him stay in his guest house, and he plans to accept the offer, and that he's been texting a lot with Rodgers and in hopes to learn as much as possible from him. Sounds like a great teammate, right? Amari Rodgers retweeted this with a comment saying, "Promise this helps him play better as a rookie. If only I had this type of love coming into Green Bay, but to each his own." Now, he deleted it. I didn't see it when it was up. I've just seen people like screenshot it and tweet it out there and such. So, but dang. And I don't want to go through a Rodgers thing again because he's on the Jets right now and that and don't need to live. But I am now of the belief, and I have been for a while, but I think this is just another example of Rodgers getting in his own way at so many times and maybe holding back the franchise in different ways, not just from money, not from just a salary cap standpoint, but holding back franchise from maybe getting another championship, getting another Super Bowl. And I know Rodgers, after he left Green Bay in his presser with the Jets, or maybe he said it on Pat McAfee's show, that he said he wished he could have, looking back, maybe done some things differently. I don't know if this is one of the things he's talking about where maybe he was very hard, very tough on rookies. We all know that, right? It's that word trust. Those receivers gotta earn his trust before he throws to them. Some of those receivers embrace it and they make them better, or they become better players. I think Devontae Adams is one of those examples. Some may not. It may not work that way with those guys. Amari being one of them, probably. I think to be a leader, not everybody can be led the same way. And to be a leader, you got to know how to lead different personalities, different people. That's what Phil Jackson, I think, is one of the best sports leaders of all time, to be able to manage the personalities of a Jordan and a Dennis Rodman and a Pippen and that whole group, for crying out loud. But you see this stuff and it's like, okay. And I'm sure there's some truth to that, obviously. And it fits the narrative that we've heard over the years about, Rodgers. You got to earn his trust. You got to earn the offseason workouts and not throwing to receivers or whatever the case may be. But it's like, dang, man. There's some what ifs that are going through my mind. I'm going to be honest with you. There's like what ifs going through my mind. Like, what if he just took some extra time with so and so, or this guy, or that guy? Would it have made a difference in a particular year? Would it have made a difference in what had been 20? What year was it? 2021 against the 49ers in the NFC champ, or in the playoff game where he's not chucking it to Devontae in double coverage? Would it have made a difference if he spent maybe at that point in time a minute or two more with Alan Lazard, even though he was an Alan Lazard guy? But maybe if you just spent a little bit more time with him, maybe he would have noticed him, going across the middle of the field wide open, or any other guy. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But there's what ifs and there's just more, I'm becoming more, it's like, man, did Rodgers kind of hold his team back from maybe even being a little bit more. They were awesome. They were great, but maybe holding them back a little bit more outside of just salary cap restraints. We know salary cap and pay and all that, but dang, man, I don't know. I will say though, I did appreciate seeing the rookie videos of from Packers rookie mini camps and orientation, and seeing Jordan Love hanging out and talking with a lot of the guys and such. So, but yeah, all right. Shot clock's gonna cut me off here in like a few seconds here. So, coming up next hour, we'll get to some hoops chat. Anthony Edwards, man, that dude is special, and he's just gonna get better and better. Timberwolves fans, you got to be pumped up. You have got to be absolutely stoked about Ant over there right now. One and two more to go. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Second hour kicking off on this Monday morning of May 6th. Big thanks for tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in from. Coming up, we're going to get to a little hoops chats here as well. I know the Bucks are out of it, but hey, you still got the T-Wolves just across the border, right? Paying attention to them. They had a big win on Saturday. Game 2 coming up tonight for the T-Wolves going up against the Nuggets. We'll get back to some more baseball talk as well. We spent a good portion of the first hour talking some baseball. Brewers dropping 2 of 3 against the Chicago Cubs and their former friend Craig Counsell. They picked up the win on Friday, but falling on Saturday and Sunday. Brewers now begin a 3-game series on the road against the Kansas City Royals, and then they'll return home for 4 games against the Cardinals starting on Thursday. It is a weekend hangover Monday morning. So what was the highlights? What was the lowlights from the weekend? Hey, my horse for the Kentucky Derby, my pick 1 underdog, Mystic Dan. You know it. That a boy or girl, assuming boy. But yeah, got her done there, didn't we? So got the Kentucky Derby over the weekend. Maybe that was a highlight. Maybe that was a low light over there. Let us know. What are your picks? Okay, no right or wrong answer in this. Oh, always join in on the conversation, by hitting us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line 715-830-1912 or comment on the YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram video page. We'll do a little local sports roundup coming up next hour too. So to hoops though, throughout that question the first hour, let's go through some of the comments on the texting line here about so the question I kind of threw out there was, if Giannis and the Bucks only win 1 championship, would you be grateful? Would you be happy? Would you be good with it? Would you be incredibly disappointed? Maybe kind of like, would you be, if you're the side of like the Packers should have won more with Rodgers and Favre, maybe you're of that feeling with Giannis and the Bucks, or maybe you view it a little bit differently in terms of how the leagues are structured and such, and be like, nope, got one for a team that didn't win one since Luel Cinder, aka Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, back in the day. You're happy, you're good with that. Because I feel like for Brewers fans, they'd be good with just getting us one here. So, come on, get us one. Maybe you're good with that with the Bucks. But a few texts here saying I'd be grateful if it was just one. Obviously, this is from Jim, by the way. Jim saying I'd be grateful with just one, but it obviously would be a little disappointing to not have more with a superstar of the caliber of Giannis. But given the current structure of how the NBA is played and how teams are built, and superstars and top talent always on the go, I think I would be okay with one. Still disappointed with just the one though. Okay, yeah, and that's the other part in this too. Is like, given how, and this is something that I was thinking about too, Jim. Thinking about the NBA and how guys are always on the move, always on the move. Like if it's football and you've got your stud quarterback, like you've got your guy 99%, 97% of the time, I don't want to say 100% of the time, but wide majority of the time, that quarterback ain't going anywhere, right? Your team gets that quarterback and he's going to be a stud and he's a franchise quarterback. He ain't going anywhere. You can't really say that about the NBA. I mean, yes, you have the Steph Currys that spend their whole careers with the Warriors, Kobe with the Lakers. But you look at LeBron James, for crying out loud. I mean, I look at a guy like LeBron James as one of the best of all time, a superstar among superstars. And the guy hopped around. Cleveland, Miami, Cleveland, Lakers. And now I feel like he's going to finish with the Lakers, but you still got the talk out there. But that's kind of the way in the NBA now. It's like Steph Curry is not the norm. It's not like what it used to be. I mean, you look at a lot of these other dudes, KD for crying out loud. Kevin Durant, how many teams has he been on now? You know, those type of players like Steph Curry and guys who stick around for one team aren't the norm. So I hear what you're saying, Jim. You know, given the current way of how the NBA is played and how, players go about it and how teams are structured, yeah, I definitely can see where you're saying like, hey, I don't know how long Giannis is going to be around. Maybe that's kind of where your mindset's like, hey, maybe Giannis won't be a guy that plays his entire career in Milwaukee. Maybe in a couple years he's going to want out. So if we just got one with him, great. Maybe something similar to, and I don't know what the mindset is of Timberwolves fans right now, but with Anthony Edwards, I mean, this young stud who I think is just going to get better and better. I mean, the guy is only 22 years old for crying out loud. And these are the playoffs that are allowing him his coming out party right now. I mean, this is fantastic. This is amazing what we're watching, and he's just going to get better and better and better. But to see that, what's the mindset of Timberwolves fans? Like, okay, we got to get one with Anthony Edwards, just one, just give us one while we still have Anthony Edwards. Is that kind of where the mindset is for T-Wolves? I don't know. I honestly don't know. So, David says on the texting line here too. I'd be really disappointed if the Bucks only got one championship with the Milwaukee Bucks. I think anytime you have a superstar, you should be expected to win multiple championships. Look at LeBron, look at Curry, look at those guys in that superstar level. They have multiple championships. So if the Bucks were only to get one, I think it would be very disappointing. Not to sound ungrateful or anything, I just think that's the expectations. And that's fair. And I think you're absolutely right. And honestly, I feel like, not to kind of cop out of it or anything like that, but I honestly feel like maybe it's somewhere in the middle. I think you could be grateful, and I think you could be thankful if you were to only get one championship. But at the same time, be disappointed if you didn't get more. So, yeah, I think I'm in that middle part, and not to kind of not give an answer one way or the other. That's where I'm at, and that's kind of where I'm at with Green Bay, with Favre and with Rodgers. Definitely disappointed that they didn't get more championships. You look at some of these quarterbacks that have multiple and I feel like to be, quarterbacks in the NFL, it's like it's not just one anymore. It's almost like, okay, if you're one of the best, it's like you almost need two, right? It was like when Peyton Manning's like Peyton just needs two, and I don't know if that was just because of the Eli factor, but I feel like it's almost then you can use the word multiple Super Bowl winning multiple Super Bowl winning quarterback. That sort of, it sounds a lot more extravagant. It sounds a lot more prestigious when you can use a word like multiple winning Super Bowl quarterback, whatever. So I'm incredibly grateful, when we compare it to other teams who have not won a Super Bowl, especially during my lifetime. I've seen two, grateful for it, happy about it. But I think it's also fair to say you're a little disappointed because if you had great quarterback play, you were kind of hoping maybe to take advantage of that and win a couple more, or at least win a couple. It's fair, right? That's fair. So, your thoughts, keep them coming though. We got more to hit up. I'll get back to some more of your texts coming up a little bit later on this morning. So, baseball wise, actually, I'll get to a couple comments here on our texting line because we were talking about baseball. Jake said William Contreras has easily been the Brewers' MVP so far this year. What he has done, especially at the catcher position has been remarkable. I just love his mindset that the guy wants to go out there and play every single day and catch every single day. He is a a shout or he's a throwback player, excuse me. Shout out to him. You're right. I love the mindset of him going out there. We talk about load management in sports. We talk about off days. And I mean, how many times have we reminisced about, that guy playing every single day or that pitcher, throwing how many complete games? You got a 26-year-old here who doesn't have, a big time contract, but he wants to play every single day. He wants to catch every single day. That's the thing. He wants to catch every single day. He wants to be out there. Managers, teams don't want to do that. They want to give him some rest days. This is a kid who wants to be out there every single day. That's his mindset. And you know what he's doing? He's making it incredibly difficult on Pat Murphy and this Brewers team to sit him down and give him an off day because all he's done is hit 336, leading the team in runs scored. He's got 5 dingers. He's leading the team in RBIs. You can't sit him. And then you factor in what I believe, too, something that gets overlooked in his greatness so far this season is how he is working with this pitching staff, starters and bullpen. Starters and bullpen. I mean, the guy has been fantastic. So we focus a lot on the offensive side, and I get it, and I understand it. But seeing what Contreras has done with this pitching staff it's been pretty darn amazing too. Been pretty darn amazing. All right, keep your comments coming. We're going to take a quick break because I got to go let JC in. Justice Cleveland, sports director, WEAU 13 News. Got to let him in. Doors locked. So we'll take that quick break and we'll be back with JC after these quick words. He's in studio, the maestro himself, Justice Cleveland, sports director extraordinaire, WEAU 13 News, man. How you doing, first of all?
Oh, good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Attaboy.
Beautiful out there this
It
morning.
is gorgeous out there. What, mid-70s today?
Yeah.
Then rain tomorrow.
Yeah.
So,
every other day.
yeah.
Keep the every other day weekday thing going on here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'll be good with it if it keeps the grass green, unlike last year.
Right.
I'd be good with that.
That's what my main goal is. Like, okay, let's not have this turn brown or be controlled by crabgrass by mid-July. So
exactly. Hey, I know we'll catch up on a little local sports a little bit later on, but I know I mentioned the first hour, but we got to give a huge shout out to Thomas Longbella.
Yes.
Right? I mean, I know it was rain shortened and such, but still, your first win on a PGA Tour sanctioned event, the Kia Open. How cool would that be, man? I mean, that's got to be so cool to do that.
It's so awesome for him, considering the last 2 weeks how probably rough it's been. You know, he played in the Punta Cana for the second year in a row, missing the cut by one stroke.
Yep.
And then the next week, misses the cut by one stroke again. And I mean, that's the fine line. That's the razor's edge that is these tours. And then to come back and just throw darts on Saturday and get I think it's almost perfect because at the Punta Cana, he missed the cut because he double bogeyed on 17. And then on Saturday, he gets an eagle on 17. That leaps him into the lead and ultimately ends up getting him his first victory in a PGA Tour sanctioned event. So, yeah, shout out to him. I mean, I've been following him from afar just because it's, you know, it's so fun to watch somebody that you covered in high school chase this dream. And it's probably, you know, I think almost vicariously for a lot of us who are golfers, watching somebody see what they have to go through just to try to get to the tour. And I mean, that's a big step for him that helps him for Korn Ferry Tour qualifying. He's got like provisional status because he was at Q school last year. So, I mean, everything, you know, for him, this is a huge victory, and it'll just keep on helping him for the rest of the year.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that, you know, we talk about, you know, baseball players in minor leagues and, you know, going through the different levels and such. But for somebody who wants to, you know, make it on golf, you look at all these different tours and qualifiers and all that. I mean, it's a grind, I have to imagine.
Yeah.
You know, for somebody to stay that committed to go through that. So huge shout out to him.
That's why it should almost always make it so much more amazing to what like Scotty Scheffler is doing out there. Because these fields are as tough as they've ever been. And for him to be able to get the victories like he did, I mean, that just, I think for Thomas Longbella, he's got that first step.
Yep.
He's got that victory.
Yep.
And, you know, if you can keep that going and get to the, you know, get full-time Korn Ferry Tour status.
Right.
Or Q school wise, maybe find a way to get through in Q school next year too. I mean, there's all those avenues are opened up, and getting a win obviously helps that a lot more.
You know, since I gotta throw this in here too. So, Nick Atman from the Blue Golds, was it last week? He shot a 66, school tied to school record 66 or something like. So, funny story. The next day he came in to do our Rolling with the Goals podcast, which is actually going to air this Thursday. So we recorded it last week. It's going to air this Thursday. And Nick Hoven and I always have this joke, like whoever's on that pod gets a bump.
You get the bump, the Blue Gold bump.
Do you know what he did yesterday?
No.
Shot 63 at the Bethel tournament. Jeez. So he goes 66, you know, he's getting all this attention.
Yeah.
I got a text from Nick. He's like, the bump is real. Nick Atman just shot a 63. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And, you know, you talk to that kid, he's just like, yeah, whatever, you know. And I'm like, no, this was when he shot a 66. I'm like, no, you could break. He's like, it's just, to me, the mental side of golf.
Yeah.
To be able to have that mindset.
There's probably always that mindset. He shoots a 66, and you've probably been there when you shoot like a 80, and you feel like you can. Yeah, I mean, that could have been a better round. Like, I'm sure when it's a 66, he's like, there's 3-4 shots. He's thinking like, man, if that would have went in, I could have done more. So it really is that one of those. You're almost never satisfied.
Yeah.
And again, this is coming from me, an amateur at best golfer, that, you know, when you have a good round, you always think there's a way to get a better round. And it's got to be that way with the pros. I got to assume that they're never satisfied with that. What's going on.
There was, we were talking because it was him and Was it? I'm blanking on it. You listen on Thursday, but he was a good quote. Like one of his swing coaches said, the mindset is, well, you're supposed to shoot under par. So that's the mentality they have. So when they do shoot under par, it's like, well, that's what I was supposed to do. I'm like,
yeah,
I wish I had that
mentality.
Yeah,
I know.
It's like
one time,
right?
I'm still waiting for that one time. So.
Yeah, it was Carson. It was Carson Brock, I believe. So, but yeah, it was when Hovind texted me yesterday afternoon, he's like, yeah, you shot 63. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I said words that I can't say right now, but I'm like, it's 63.
Yeah,
63. For anybody who doesn't golf, 63 is like freaking fantastic.
Yeah, oh, exactly.
And it makes Justice and I we're shaking our heads right now. Like, I can't even imagine getting a 63 unless it was a par 31 9-hole course.
Right. And I think, like, that's the thing about golf is, of any sport, I think it's the one that maybe there's more people still actively doing it at different ages than almost any sport.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably more. There are some probably out there, but I think golf's right there with, like, hey, there's tennis maybe too, But with golf, like, you can kind of relate to almost anything golf-wise because you're still out there doing it.
Yep.
Whereas, like, if I watch, LeBron out on the basketball court, I'm like, I haven't been able to do anything even remotely like running the lane and
right.
So many years. So yeah, I think that's why. So that's why it's like watching Thomas Lambella have the success that he had. I think really resonates with a lot of people around here because this is somebody you've watched grow up.
Yep.
And for him to overcome those struggles and get the victory, that's just great.
Yep.
It really is.
It is. So shout out to a couple of local golfers for a fantastic weekend.
Yes, indeed.
Oh man, you are our inspiration every time we try to go out in the court. They did admit too, those two guys don't want to give away the whole podcast. They're like, yeah, we're not playing. Our golf games are probably gonna not be as good because I mean, golf is such a repetition thing too. If you don't play as much as those guys are like every day, it does take a little bit of a hit. It does go down a little bit.
I mean, I think this winter was an example of just being able to actually get out and do stuff. And I mean, just speaking as an amateur, it helped my game a ton. Like I rebuilt my swing basically over the winter, which I would have never been able to do in a normal winter around here.
Right.
So when you get out there, you're like, okay, this doesn't feel foreign. Because I remember those days where you wouldn't touch a club for 3 or 4 months.
Yep.
So you'd stop in October, and then March comes around. And it's like, okay, let's go back out and try to. And you'd just be like, muscle memory's not there.
Right.
And that muscle memory is so big when it comes to golf. So yeah, those guys out there every day grinding and grinding and grinding. And I think that's why you see a lot of those golfers too. Once you have kids, it becomes tougher because you're not able. Your focus changes.
Yes.
Whereas you're just right there staring. Golf is everything.
Yep.
It can't be everything anymore because life interferes. So that'll be interesting. I think it'll be interesting. I think Scotty Scheffler will be fine, but it's going to definitely change your outlook on the game when the kids get involved.
Yep. I agree. All right. I know the Bucks aren't in the postseason, Justice, but the T-Wolves not that far across from here, and they got a big Game 1 victory against Anthony Edwards. I mean, I know we got a lot of T-Wolves fans that tune in. Well, in our area too. Right. We're not that far over there. But what we're seeing from this 22-year-old right now, I mean, you're getting comparisons thrown left and right and all that. I mean, it's pretty darn special with what you're seeing from Anthony Edwards and the T-Wolves as a whole right now. I mean, if you're a Timberwolves fan, is that I'll ask this question to any Minnesota sports fans that are listening right now. Are the Timberwolves your best shot at bringing you a championship right now, do you think?
I would think if you're a Minnesota fan, you're looking at this. I mean, the fact that you take it to Denver in Game 1, where I think a lot of people thought, okay, you win that first, you sweep the Suns in the first round.
Right.
Here comes your reality check.
Yes.
With Denver.
Yep.
And then to go out and do what they did, I think you've got to be floating on cloud 9. I think that bandwagon's got to be filling up very quickly. And I mean, Anthony Edwards, the fact that there was doubts, I remember the doubts of, does this guy want to play basketball? Is he committed to playing basketball? Should the T-Wolves not take him? And there was a lot of discussion about that pre-draft.
Yep.
Man, are they happy that they did? Because you've got a guy who not only is just great on the court, off the court has a great personality too, and is going to be the face of your franchise for years to come. Throwing with a team that has Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns and Naz Reid.
Yeah.
You have those guys too, but
and Mike Conley's still playing.
Mike Conley's still putting up big numbers too. So I mean, you have that. It's a fun lineup to look, and I think you always talk about what was the missing piece. Well, Anthony Edwards looks like right now, he's the missing piece because I think Karl Anthony Towns is a great player. I'm not going to deny that he can't be a great player, but he also just sometimes on the court you're questioning what he's doing. I think when Anthony Edwards can do anything you want him to do, he can be the scorer and score big time.
Yep.
He can be the facilitator, which we saw a lot sometimes this season where he was, only 10 points because he was busy out there letting the teammates. When you have Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns, you don't have to be the guy every night. And we've kind of seen that with the Bucks as well. At that time when you have the big three on a team,
right?
And he's fine with that. So yeah, this is a special time for Tebow. So just get a first round playoff victory for the first time in 20 years.
And it was a series too. I think a lot of people are like, oh yeah, Suns. Like I thought Suns were going to win. I picked the Suns. Brandon and I talked about it. Brandon picked the Suns too.
Yeah.
And then they go out and sweep. It's like, all right, that's not. And then you go and win game one. It's like, all right, you're getting our attention.
I mean, the consolation bracket, the Suns and Bucks can relive the title game.
Yeah. Can we bring back Mike Budenholzer and Monty Williams for each of those teams too?
That's also crazy. That's how quickly things move in the NBA.
I know. It's unreal. By the way, Jason Kidd just signed a extension. It shows up here. So sorry, LeBron, you can't get him to the Lakers. I just,
I'm not. I don't know. I was never the whole Bucks tenure with Jason Kidd. I was never impressed. He's doing better now. I think he was just.
Was it an Adrian Griffin situation almost a little bit where first year head coach, go through your lumps? And he wasn't because he was with Brooklyn for a year before. Yeah, he was with Brooklyn,
so he had that year, and then that whole thing kind of blew up.
Yeah.
I think that was the whole thing of the Bucks just trying to change their profile in the nation.
Yeah.
They hired Jason Kidd, and then there was the whole Jim Paschke, Gus Johnson thing with announcing too. Like you bring in Gus Johnson because everybody knows who Gus Johnson is. Well, it's like what, you have a legend in Jim Paschke.
Yep.
That should have never played out the way that did. So
yep.
I think they learned their lesson.
Kind of forgot about the Gus Johnson era for for a little bit.
It's just like, why are you doing this to a guy like Jim Paschke who still wanted to do it? It was one thing if Jim Paschke was retiring.
Right.
This was not the case. He was there. So yeah, that's still one of those things that I was not a big fan of those moves.
Yep.
And I think it was one of those. We got new owners, got a new arena. We got to make this thing nationwide.
Spending that are willing to spend some moolah and all that. So
that's when when they brought in Budenholzer, I think that was just they went back to kind of basics. I will go. I think every week I'm on this podcast, I will say they fired Mike Budenholzer.
Now he's getting mentioned for that Lakers job.
I would bring him in. Well, I think he probably just took a year off to kind of wasn't he consulting and stuff like that.
Could have been, yeah.
But Mike Budenholzer's a good coach. Mike Budenholzer has won Coach of the Year everywhere he's been.
Atlanta and Milwaukee, yep.
So if you're LA, give it a shot. I mean, does Darvin Ham come back to Milwaukee?
Well, that's the thing is now he's odds-on favorite to be the next Bucks coach.
Doc Rivers isn't going anywhere.
No,
that would not make sense.
No,
they didn't sign Doc to a 1-year deal or a half-year deal. They're paying. They would be paying for 3 coaches at that point.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
4 coaches if you added. I think if Darvin Ham's willing to come back
as an assistant,
yep, because he has a lot of repertoire with those guys. Depending on what roster turnover you have, that I think that would be a good guy to add there. Now that's all up to Doc Rivers. He has his guys there too. Yep. See what happens with Joe Prunty, who's a guy who was a holdover from the last staff too. So yeah, it'll be an interesting to see what happens that way offseason, and obviously what happens with
how big of an offseason is this? Do you think for this Bucks team? I mean, I look back at this year. It's just a weird year.
It really was. They never really felt like they got on track.
Yeah, I mean, if we go from Adrian Griffin hire, first year at coach, okay, then they get Dame, and then Terry Stotts quits a week before.
I was going to say there was even before the season started, there was just weird little things happening. And then Dame, I mean, that felt late.
Yep.
When they got Dame too, so it just I don't feel like they ever had a chance to sit down and piece everything together.
Right.
And
now you got Doc, and then it's like, all right, so now Brandon throughout this thing does Giannis, do you kind of play him more as a 5 going forward? Is that where the league's going? It's positionless.
Right.
But I know you and I have talked about with Brook, is the defensive liabilities there now for him?
Yeah. I mean, Brook, you're great. It's great when he's scoring.
Mm-hmm.
And he still does. I mean, he'll still put up the defense, but I think it's more of just getting him in position defensively because the league is so fast now.
Yeah.
It's nothing like it's ever been.
Right.
Even the Showtime era, you can say, well, they were going fast. This is faster than that. Like, you have no chance to get set on defense most of the time because it's such a drive and dish.
You miss a shot, you're screwed if you play a transition team like Indiana.
Right. Yeah. No, and I think that hurt him a lot is because you would have Brook down low.
Yep.
Well, how's he supposed to get back and cover any of these guys?
Yep.
Unfortunately, Brook's not. The fleet of foot. It's just not there because he's still built like a traditional center.
Yes.
Which that's what the era he's from.
Yep.
We're in a transition era where that just doesn't exist. I mean, I think of like Dwight Howard and like how quickly it went from him being a dominant force to like almost being obsolete in this league because of how the transition game has changed. So this offseason will be unfortunately just the kind of the reality of the NBA. You got your big 3 stars, a lot of money tied up, and unless you're moving one of those 3 pieces.
Do you think the NBA is trending towards maybe not a big 3? You look at the Nuggets, and you got Joker, and then yes, Murray's there and Porter, but are they classified as a big 3?
Right.
Over there. Boston, you got Tatum, but they're just so deep.
Right. I mean, I think that's the bigger key now is being deep.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the key of having 3 big stars. I think the depth-wise has started to really show its face because the level of bench guys to starters guys isn't as different as it used to be.
Right.
Like, these guys are all right around the same level and can score. So I think it's just a matter of what you can do building that depth. And I just don't think the Bucks had that depth at all this year.
No.
I don't think Malik Beasley was the answer. I think Pat Connaughton just isn't the same player he was a few years ago. Portis, I would, if you can keep Bobby Portis, keep Bobby. Because I mean, that's the guy who comes off the bench, put up 20 some points off the bench.
Right.
So if you can keep that, I would love that. That's your key bench guy. But they have so much money obviously wrapped up in Giannis, Dame, even Middleton.
Yep.
So Bobby's always that one in almost every year where it's like, is he going to go? Is he going to stay? Bobby loves Milwaukee. So if they can keep him, they're gonna. But what can you get after that?
Right. Because you look at these teams that are out of the playoffs now. I mean, Clippers, kind of a big 3 mindset, right? Paul George, Kawhi, and Harden. And then you throw Westbrook coming off the bench, but that's not really, I would say, bench production from Russell West. Lakers, for crying out loud. Anthony Davis and LeBron. Suns, we just talked about a little bit ago. I mean, it's those veteran, big, star teams that tried to collect a bunch of, immediate talent with KD, Bradley Beal, and Booker, and now they're talking. And then you look at teams like the Knicks. Yes, Jalen Brunson, but depth. They're still alive.
The Timberwolves.
Yeah, Timberwolves.
Depths.
Yep.
It really is. I think you're really right about, like, I think this league, this is the evolution of this league. I mean, the big 3 worked for 15 years. I mean, I think the team you think back to is the Celtics.
Yeah.
Like, that was the big 3. I guess you can go Heat, Celtics, wherever you want to put those arrows kind of crossing.
I don't count the Rockets with Scottie Pippen and Barkley and
no, that was a little different of a big 3. 2 of those guys 3 of those were already long in the tooth at that point.
Yes.
But yes, you're going to have teams with big 3. But I think historically, Chicago Bulls, the depth that those teams had, the Lakers going back to the Showtime. I mean, the depth that Lakers and the Celtics had during the time, they were big 3 players. But you can think of bench players. There were 6, 7 deep teams.
Yes.
So that somebody was out, another guy who could be a starter stepped in. I know it's maybe a little harder this day and age to do it, but I think with the amount of talent basketball wise that's out there, that depth is the new key. But how? I think you still need a superstar.
Well, look at the Thunder
one
too. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and then they have all these draft picks, and they built this depth. They got like probably 50 more first round picks, in the next few years.
And I watched Cleveland and Orlando play.
Yeah.
They're tough teams. And I mean, are there big players on it? Yeah, but I mean, it's mostly built around just young depth.
Yep.
So that's something the Bucks have to do, but they don't really have a whole lot of capital to play with. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can get out there in the market, and if you can get some players willing to take. That's the thing, you're almost gambling. And I saw somebody say, like, you're gambling with inexperienced players or veterans. Right. Like Gallinari, that obviously brought nothing to the team.
No.
Like 8 points in the playoffs or something like that.
Right.
But you were hoping that would be something that you could lean on, and it just didn't work.
Nope.
So
nope.
Not an easy time to be a GM in the NBA.
No, not at all. Wonder if those picks start to become a little bit more valuable too, if you want to build that depth for a lot of these teams.
And then that's, I mean, we talk about the NFL draft all the time. The NBA draft is such a crapshoot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, go back and look at the last couple of years,
right?
And how many guys have barely even seen the floor from the first round.
You can think of how many Bucks player draft picks.
Yeah, Marshawn Beauchamp. I mean, he played a little bit.
Andre Jackson Jr. a little bit more this year, but you know, after Dante might have been the last first round pick that got like starting minutes, and even that, and then now he's
hitting last second buckets for the Knicks.
Exactly,
looking like JJ Watt.
All right, we got to take a quick break here. We'll finish up the second hour. We'll talk some more baseball too. Brewers are going to be back at it, taking on the Royals of Kansas City after dropping their series against the Cubbies. We'll be back in just a few minutes. If anybody had any luck this past weekend with the fishing opener, don't forget to send us your photos so we can put them up on the Tilden Gun Trophy Gallery up at our website, sportstalk1051.com. Or if you had any luck spring turkey hunting too, send us those photos so we can put them up on the trophy gallery. Big thanks to everybody who's already sent over some photos. We will put those up later on today, and you can check them out at sportstalk1051.com. And just click on the Outdoors tab.
As a layman, when it comes to turkey hunting, are there a lot more turkeys out there now than when we were younger?
Oh, yeah.
Because you see them everywhere now. It's crazy. Like, you'll be driving and there's like 40 turkeys over in a field. I don't remember seeing turkeys at all when I was a kid. Maybe one here or there, but
yeah, I remember as a kid, like even going hunting, and no, there was nothing, and now I see them all the time when I'm not turkey hunting and I'm deer hunting, and it's like, thanks, guys. Yeah. And they come, there's like 15, 20 and all that.
They just come up,
yeah. I'm like, you sons of a, but no, it's gotten huge over the years. They've reintroduced them and such, so they've taken off, really taken off. So
we had one that my brother-in-law shot during hunting season. We had it for like Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Great.
Yep. I mean, they're in the neighborhoods now too. So
yeah, exactly.
We had a neighborhood.
Go say hi.
Yeah. There was I think he's gone now. But we had one for a while, and I just love it walking in the driveway in the middle, in the city and hearing it gobbling. I'm like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it is.
But I think it was messing around with some neighbors because neighbors were messing with it, and it got a little annoyed. And I think it's gone now. So we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'd go and pick up Hudson from school. It's sitting at the edge of the road, just like staring at all the cars going by and all that. I'm like,
yeah. I mean, that's the other thing is, unfortunately, it's more of a danger for, because you'll be driving on like 29. And every once in a while, you're like, oh, turkey.
Yep. Exactly. Baseball wise, so we had the first series against former friend Craig Counsell. By the way, can we change the rule? I don't know why they have this, but Ricky Weeks should be 2-0.
Yeah, I don't know why is the interim not a
right.
It counts if somebody gets fired, but if you're serving in a suspension, it's still Pat Murphy.
I know, but Ricky Weeks is 2-0 in our hearts.
Yes,
right now.
Exactly.
So, Brewers picking up that Friday victory. Ricky Weeks, you crazy man! 4 steals in 1 inning, 2 in that game, just sending the runners.
Hey, that's great
awesome.
Thing. That's a great thing to see stealing back in baseball.
Right?
That's a weird way to say it. It's great to see stealing back. But yeah, no, I mean, it's that if anything that they've introduced, to me, that has been the most fun one to see is it's getting that back in the game.
Yes. And when I saw it was like 4, I'm like, oh, yeah, man. It makes sense. Ricky Weeks, like, send them.
And they're scoring on singles.
Yes.
And you're not just relying on home runs. Unfortunately, it didn't work out the rest of the...
Right.
But that first game was just, when you kept getting guys to second base and they kept...
Bowers was even stealing it and all that. I was like, heck yeah, let's do this. I like it.
Puts a premium back on catchers, too. Like, you got to have an arm. You can't just, for 10, 15 years there, it was just throw a guy back there.
Yep.
Maybe he's able to get it to second, but no one's stealing, so it doesn't even... The odds are against it. Kind of screws up that Moneyball theory for some of that stuff.
Yep, definitely. So Brewers still by the slimmest of slim edges, first place, percentage points, win percentage. They're at 606. Cubbies are at 600. But how, a couple weeks change, NL Central was like, hey, every team's 500 or better. Now there's just 2 teams that are over 500, and that is the Brewers and Cubs right now.
I am shocked the Pittsburgh Pittsburgh Pirates did not maintain.
Right.
Not that we called that like right. I was like, oh, here comes the April Pirates once again. So now somebody's gonna record this and play this back to me when Pittsburgh ends up like
in the playoffs,
winning the division and knocking the Brewers out on like the last day. Like, you jinxed it, Justice.
You put it out there, man.
Cardinals look like a mess.
Yeah, they do.
I think that looks like they're gonna have a change at some point, because it just seems like it comes from the manager.
I think they got rid of Mike a little too early.
Yeah.
Who's, now with the Padres and such. But I remember when he got let go, like he was, I think, was he manager of the year finalist or maybe even won it that year too?
Right.
And it's like, I thought they got the hook from him a little bit too early there.
Yeah. I just you look at everything that's been going on with that Cardinals organization. It's like, this is,
it's not the Cardinals we grew up, right? It's they're going to come back. They're going to come back.
As solid as they've been, there's just been some weird panic moves Mm-hmm. I think it's because of the changing of a guard. I mean, they had such a good, solid core of that team forever.
Right.
And say what you want. I mean, I've never been a Cardinals fan, but the way they kept the success rolling in that, and I think they finally have stumbled and almost gotten into panic mode.
Mm-hmm.
So
yep.
It's okay though.
Yeah.
No one's crying for the Cardinals.
Nope, not at all.
And I'm still worried at some point by August they'll be battling for first place.
Yeah, we've seen it too many times.
Yeah, last year was like that first year where I was just like, they're gonna make a run.
Mm-hmm.
They always make a run, and then like they just never made a run.
Nope, not at all.
And Cincinnati, for all the talent, and it's like every year people come in saying this is gonna be Cincinnati's year, or they're right there. And it's just it never seemed to come into fruition of where they're that talented, but it never pays off on the field.
And then you just got the Brewers again right now that we all kind of, or not, I shouldn't say we all, but a lot of people kind of just overlook, and here they are exceeding expectations again.
Yeah, finding a way. I mean, this is more than any year I feel like in a long time that you look at the rotation or lack thereof at this point. Colin Ray and Freddie Peralta.
Yeah. you got bullpen guys now being stretched out to be starters like Wilson today.
Yeah. And Wilson, I mean, I've been impressed by him.
Mm-hmm.
You'll like it, though. I think Hudson, the reliever,
the
Brandenburg All-Star right there, finally gave up a run. So ERA's at like 0.98 now. But I was penciling him in a Cy Young winner there if he kept that ERA under 1 the whole year. So, and that's a guy I knew nothing of until this year. And that's, I mean, a lot of these Brewers guys, even when I was at spring training, you're just sitting there like, it was almost like the major league. Like, who are these guys? Like,
well, I was doing a math. We're almost a quarter of the way already through the season.
Yeah.
We're about a little over 20% all the way done, or 20% all the way through right now. And, if we did like first quarter grades or that, I think Contreras has got to be the MVP so far.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, offensive numbers are great, but going back to the pitching thing that you said too, how he's managing and working with that staff.
Yeah.
And I just love his mentality of like, he wants to play every single game, and he's making it hard on them to, you can't sit me if I'm playing this well. So,
and he's a fun batter to watch because he hits to all fields. Like he finds a way to try to spray the ball if he needs to spray the ball. He's not just going up there looking to pull the ball. And that's so refreshing. That's almost been, I say, the Brewers team this year. The mentality in the box seems so much different than we saw under Counsell the last few years, where it almost was. They were feast or famine. There was too much feast or famine with the bats that they had.
Yep.
And then now you're seeing a little more creativity. You talk about like Ricky Weeks stealing 4 bases in an inning. Like, that's great because a single scores the run.
Right.
Then instead of you're not relying
on that speed.
Yeah. And Willie Adames even seems like he's kind of rejuvenated now with the way this offensive is. And, whenever they get Yelich back, remember how well he was hitting.
I know.
If he can get back, I mean, obviously back injuries are never anything you want to mess with. And that's
right.
We've seen that's been his problem for a long time. But if he can come back to even close to that level of being a 300 hitter and finding that power stroke again.
Exactly.
Brewers are going to be in good shape offensively. Pitching wise, it's just going to be hold on tight and hope that you can manage to. I mean, the guys have been doing yeoman's work considering that. And Joe Ross, I don't think anybody.
You're just like, okay, maybe 500 at best, or maybe even a couple games under 500.
Yeah.
At this point, though, way, way ahead. But I mean, if they're still in first place at this time, you got to wonder, are they going to make moves for a starter?
Yeah.
To bring in?
Devin Williams isn't scheduled back to what?
June or July, somewhere around there.
You get Devin Williams back, expand that bullpen. That's going to be huge.
Yep. Yeah.
Then, I mean, the deals will be that's where you start wondering about deals that are going to be made and stuff like that. Don't trade your closer.
Don't trade your closer.
No. We saw how that paid off.
Yeah. No, don't do that. So
trade him now if you want to, because then people have seen him out on the mound this year. So
yeah, I mean, I would love it if the Brewers could lock up Contreras right now to one of those deals that they've been doing. Because
they just haven't had that long time catcher. Like if you can get this guy locked up, if you can have your Molina.
Yes.
I'm not going to compare. Comparing anybody to the out here is a big compliment, but like the Brewers got the right Contreras at catcher right now, and if they can lock him up.
That trade by Matt Arnold last year, I think we all thought, like when that first came down, that 3-way team was like, oh wow, Brewers actually looks like they came. by far. I mean, that's a hell of a deal that Matt Arnold pulled off.
Yeah, I mean, Contreras is an all-star.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's doing everything you want to see from a catcher, and I mean, you go to Lucroy, maybe the Brewers had some spot catchers here. Can't think of Grandal.
Yep,
came in and had
Grandal,
had some good, but I think Contreras is the best full package that they've had in a long time.
Well, and I'm sorry, but I already kind of forgot him. But the one they acquired from the Mariners a few years ago too.
Oh boy,
right?
Yeah,
I completely blanked on his name. Oh man, who is it? Oh, okay. Shot clock's on right now, so we're gonna get yelled at probably on the texting line here.
If Brandon's up, he's furious and threw his phone across.
Who is it? Contreras is making us forget who he is. We'll think about it. All right. News updates, and we'll tell you.
Manny Pena?
Pineapple. All right, here we go. Third hour. That was a quick cutoff. I got to extend that there. Got to pay attention a little bit better there. So, third hour kicking off right now on this Monday morning. Omar Narvaez was the guy we were trying to think of. So
now starting / backup for the New York Mets.
The New York Metropolitans. So
pride of the Polo Grounds.
Oh, that's one place I wish I could hop in a DeLorean and go back and visit.
It's
watch
funny
some old games.
Because you look at the dimensions, and obviously they had the center field that was like 400, almost 500 feet.
Mm-hmm.
But like it was actually a small baseball stadium that housed a lot. Like, everybody was on top. Like, that was one of the fun things about like MVP baseball. Back you could play at some of those older stadiums.
I don't remember.
So you could set up so you could just go and play like an exhibition game at the
That's awesome.
And try to hit a home run, and then you'd realize how far like the left field was tiny.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you pulled it down the line, it was only like 300 or something like that to the left.
So we had a shot.
maybe back in the day, I'd probably pull if I swung a baseball bat at this point.
Not anymore.
I could swing a golf club and swing out of my shoes, but I feel like a baseball bat would just tear up everything in my back.
I love historic stuff like that because I'm like working on a project side story here. Like I'm working on a project. So like Cub Buck. Have you heard about Cub Buck? He was back in the early 1900s. He's from Eau Claire.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And he was like Lambeau's first big free agent signing.
Yep.
Played for Jim Thorpe, played for the Badgers and all that. Was the first coach ever at the University of Miami, the Hurricanes, first coach ever.
At the Red Hawks.
Yeah. And there's like nothing about him. So I've been looking at old newspaper articles and like trying to figure out where he played high school ball here. And was an old park called Driving Park, but it's down where like Graham and Roosevelt, like it was a horse track.
Oh, okay.
And where like Roosevelt like turns that corner there, that's part of the old track. But it's like all houses now. And I just imagine that was all full of baseball fields and football and athletic fields. And now it's all housing. But it's like stuff like that. Like
that's great. Yeah, that's a good
that historic stuff like that.
I always thought it was cool when I was playing JV football. This sounds like an Al Bundy story, but playing JV football in high school. But we got to play on Citi Field.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Green Bay East plays, and I remember my final game of my great 1-year run of high school football was at East High School, and then I walked off there and just like, at least I got to play somewhere where the Packers had played.
Yeah, like if anybody hasn't been there, Cliff Crystal, with the Heritage Trail, they got a marker out there, and when you read the line on there that Bart Starr played his first game on there, like 1957 or whatever it was against the 49ers, you look at that field and you're like, Bart Starr played against the 49ers on this field. It's just so cool to think about.
Enough stands for like 30,000 people around.
Yeah.
It looks just like your standard high school.
Right.
Now they've added, like I said, they've added a lot more stuff to capture the history.
Yep.
But when I was there in like 1998, they really hadn't done anything. It's 96, but yeah. Yeah. So I always thought that was like a cool thing. I remember I got a tackle on special teams made.
I just love like imagining that stuff. And then I was looking at old newspaper articles, and then you think about what they wrote in newspapers back then. Like, first of all, for game logs, they literally had to describe everything. Yeah. I mean, that was but then it's like, so-and-so visited so-and-so. It was like, it was Twitter before Twitter.
Right. Oh, yeah. I mean, they wrote every detail.
Yeah. They told where everybody lived, the address. So I found that out because of an article. So it was like, wow. It was like, this day and age, heck no.
Yeah.
You don't put that stuff out there.
There was a book book about Fuzzy Thurston, and like had like where his house was. And I'm like, oh, that's like literally, because I was at the Altoona Library, and I'm like, that's like a block away from the library. It was right next to the train track. It's still there, the house that he grew up in. So yeah, it's kind of neat to find those things out.
I know. So really quick, because you only got a few minutes here. I know we talked a little bit about some of the golf and local sports here, but I know for Blue Gold wise, you got WIAC championships coming up for softball now. Their regular seasons are done. Baseball seasons are done.
Yep.
For the WIAC, we had track and field, outdoor track and field.
Some
WIAC
shout out
championships.
to the Blue Gold continuing their
Yes.
Their run, and then now guys getting ready for nationals.
Exactly. So, high school wise, I mean, baseball, BRC, and Clover Belts, we're kind of still close up there.
Yes,
at that point.
In the BRC, North taking the lead right now over Hudson, I believe, just by I think they're tied or like this. But yeah, I mean, it's been one of those. Again, we were talking last week, and it's up for grabs. But North getting 2 wins over Chi High over last week. This week, it's the intercity rivalry. So it's Memorial tomorrow, and then it'll be on Thursday as well. So 2 games at Carson at 6:00. So anybody interested in those games will be going on. So those will be fun to watch.
Absolutely.
And then shout out to Schrammick from Blair Taylor, the guy who threw the no-hitter.
Yeah.
And struck out, I think it was 21. And they had a combined 35 strikeouts in that game between Oliva Strum and Blair Taylor. So that's just, the level of to be able to do that at any level is amazing. So that was Philip got to see that game, and he said it was the most impressive.
That's awesome.
Performances and pitching performances he's seen. So so we got a lot of that going on. Elk Mountain still running well in the Dunn St. Croix Boyceville as well there. I think the Clover Belt, it's just kind of really up for grabs right now. Your McDonald's running up there near the top. So Regis as well.
I know you were at a softball a few days ago. Was it Regis and Thorpe?
Yes.
You were at?
In Thorpe, that's the Clover Belt with Fall Creek on the top, and McDonald and Thorpe are right there. So those 2 teams, potential playoff runs,
right?
For sure. Always Thorpe because, it's Brandenburg's Thorpe Cardinals. Chi High lost a game at DC Everest on Friday, but came back and got the second game there. Okay. So they're, still top of the big rivers. So I mean, we're at that point, like you say, because the WIC tournaments are going on. We're just a couple of weeks from the playoffs starting, and
for WIA,
and track and field, we're getting close. I think next week would be conference.
Oh geez.
And then regionals and sectionals will be the week after that, so 2 weeks from now,
man. So, and then I know you were at soccer too a few days ago with North and Memorial.
Yes, fun game. Really fun. North, for all the bad, I say bad luck and the stretches they had against Memorial. I mean, to be 3 straight games without a loss against Memorial, that's big for them. And Terry Albright just such a great job. Both the teams, Olivia at coaching at Memorial as well. Those are 2 really fine programs, and a lot of soccer were played by both those teams. I think they both played 4 games in like 4 days, so they probably enjoyed Sunday a lot. Yeah, so, and that'll be another thing when we'll get to the playoffs not too long from now.
And I know it was a few days ago too, but North basketball is going to be looking for a new head coach for the boys side, right?
Yes, they're moving on, moving out of education, so that you got to find one, and that'll be you have Roxvold, who was he's going to sign to go to UW Eau Claire, so it'll be a job that'll get some interest. I mean, that's a good program to take over there. So
right, yeah, I know Brandon kind of mentioned. I know it's not in his neck of woods, but he kind of mentioned Friday. The program the last couple of years being pretty consistent and kind of taking some steps every single year, it seemed like too.
Yeah, they were, and they definitely were. From when they came from to this next year, and they made a good leap this last year. So you got to imagine that's going to continue next year, whoever takes over. So
right,
that's a big, it's a big job there. I mean, it's the footsteps of Pat Hammond if you go back in the day there.
Yeah.
So that's a cool opening that I think you'll get plenty of interest.
And I know last week too, I'll just kind of revisit it, but a lot of local talent signing to go elsewhere. I know you were covering some signings. Yes. I don't want to leave anybody out or anything like that, but I mean, was it on your Twitter? I think you said you almost had to bust out the panorama at Memorial.
At Memorial. Like this, they had the auditorium there, and I think it was 11 or 12 signings.
Yeah.
Those events, and I could try to name everybody off, but it's going to be too hard. And we got one in North this week too. Tomorrow. It's always just cool. It really is, because it's such a celebration, and to know that you're going to be able to play at the next level, to go compete in your sport in college. I mean, that's something very much to be proud of, because you put in the work.
Absolutely.
To get there. And, it's not just the work of the athletes, it's the parents that are, driving them into practice and going to games and stuff like that. So it really is a big, family celebration. So I always enjoy covering those.
Absolutely. All right, JC, we'll let you get out of here. All right. So we appreciate you stopping by again, buddy.
Oh, thank you. Everybody go out there and breathe in the fresh air. You got the blooms on the trees.
Pollen's already
some of you probably do not want to go breathe out the air, but yeah, this is it's always a fun time, special time of year around here. So
yep, and I know you were already looking at too. We got Express games already coming up in a few weeks.
Yes, we are. Memorial Day, I believe, is the first game.
Yeah, getting Monday the 27th, going up against looks like Madison right away,
which is great because we were talking off air. It's like Madison and Wausau being back on the schedule, which it's been a long time since they've really had to sustain games against these teams. So
my first Northwoods League game was the Wausau Woodchucks.
Yes. Oh, back when they were the Wisconsin?
Could have been, actually. It would have been Wisconsin Woodchucks, yeah, because our Little League team got introduced with them. I was introduced with
maybe they were, because going on 10. I think they were Wausau, then they were Wisconsin, then they were back to Wausau.
I think it was Wisconsin, now that you said that. Because, yeah, they were orange. They were like Express colors. So I would have been in elementary school, middle school. Somewhere around there.
That was
a long time ago.
I was probably in college.
No, this was like 25, 26, 27 years ago. I think I still have that program guide somewhere. I should see if there was any major leaguers on there.
It's always fun to look back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was my first one. So, all right, JC, we'll let you get out of here. We appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more coming up after these quick words. We're getting set for another busy travel season. We've got vacations. We're taking all of our kiddos to their games and such, activities, events. You need a proper vehicle to get to where you're going and safely. That's where Toyson Ford can help you out. Toyson Ford will go the extra mile to provide you with compelling options for new and used car shopping. They will gladly work with you on financing no matter what your budget may be. They're committed to giving drivers across the Chippewa Valley the best customer service. Just check them out for yourself. Visit Toyson Ford today at 1000 Crossing Boulevard in Chippewa Falls and visit them online at toysonford.net. Switching gears here just for a few minutes. Been talking a lot of baseball and some basketball and such this morning. A little Stanley Cup playoff hockey. So Packers had their rookie orientation, mini camp and such this past weekend, getting out on the practice field, working with the coaches. You had some tryout players over there too. So Matt LaFleur chatted a little bit with the media, and I just feel like there's a lot. I mean, we knew going into this offseason to the next season when it does come, there was going to be some excitement. There was going to be some high expectations. And after the draft class, it seemed like a lot of Packers fans were really happy with the draft class and probably spiked up that excitement or spiked up those high expectations for this upcoming year. And it's not just from fans, I don't think necessarily, but I think it's also coming from those who cover the team day in and day out. This was from Wes Hodequist, who covers the Packers for Packers.com and used to cover the Packers for the Green Bay Press Gazette. And he had this to say back a couple days ago on the 4th. That felt like one of the most competitive Packers rookie minicamp orientations I've covered. Meanwhile, the rookie draft picks at inside linebacker and defensive backs very much looked the part. Fast and aggressive. Jeff Hafley, Rich Bisaccia, Adam Stenovich are going to be speaking with reporters this afternoon. We're also going to hear from offensive position coaches on Wednesday, defensive position coaches on Thursday. So, I mean, just a few nuggets, if you will, from those practices or comments from Matt LaFleur and that. So Jordan Morgan did start off at left tackle. Again, these are just the rookies of the tryouts. So, I mean, you're not going up against the starters, established starters, and all that. But some of the things that I kind of took away from whether it was the reporters or seeing some of the clips and of that stuff out there, you saw the safeties, the defensive backs really, being aggressive and going at the line of scrimmage, not aggressive, versatile. We kept hearing about how Jeff Hafley or how we want these defensive backs to be more versatile. Coverage, playing free safety, little center field role, playing a little bit more in the box, getting closer to the line of scrimmage. And some of that, we saw a little bit of that. We saw that from the limited amount of time that we were able to see some of the clips or what the reporters were able to see out there, which fits the narrative that we've been what we've been told and what we were kind of hoping for. And I think one area that I'm really curious, I'm really excited to kind of see how it all plays out. Preseason, training camp, mini camp, regular season, all that stuff. I'm really curious to see how the dynamic between the linebackers and their new linebacker coach, Anthony Campanelli, play out. If anybody watched Hard Knocks last year with the Dolphins, and I know we talked about that with when he was first hired, that guy, I can't even play the clip. I'll get fired before the show even ends at 9. But that guy is a dude that brings the energy, brings the enthusiasm, brings the excitement. And you pair that with the physicality, the aggressiveness, and the speeds of Edgerrin Cooper, Quay Walker. Hopper was getting some time at middle linebacker here. And then apparently Campanelli was showing guys tape of Lawrence Taylor running down on special teams as a flyer. I'm curious to see how that dynamic works, that energy, that enthusiasm. I think, don't know, because we won't know until they actually get on the field in games that matter, practices that matter, and such. I think you are going to see a more vocal defense, both from the players and the coaches' side. You're going to see maybe a defense that has a little bit more swag to them, which fits a Jair Alexander probably a little bit more. Which is all great. I want to see a defense that comes in with this mindset of nobody's going to beat us, that isn't afraid to do a little chit chat out there, as long as you back it up. As long as you back it up. But I think you're going to see a defense that's going to bring some personality to it. That you're going to see a little bit of swag come with this group. Now, don't get too far, get too excited about it or too far with it, because if you can't back it up, you can't back up your talk without some solid play, then it don't mean anything. But I'm just, man, I can't wait to get on the practice field to see these guys and this new defensive group come together. I know I'm putting a lot of expectations and I'm putting a lot of excitement, a little bit of hope, and not really, we haven't seen too much of it. I mean, we don't know anything about Jeff Hafley yet. We don't know anything about these rookies yet. We don't know anything about these new assistant coaches yet. We're putting some blind faith into this. But gosh darn it, I'm excited to see this group in action. I can't wait for preseason training camp. I can't wait to get down for training camp and see. I want to see the defense challenge the offense. I want to see the offense challenge the defense. I want to see iron sharpen iron this year in these practices. So we know Green Bay is also on the clock for the draft. And there's still kind of been some unknowns about how is Green Bay going to do this? How are they going to be able to hold the draft in little old Green Bay, right? So Mark Murphy, in his column on Packers.com, Murphy Takes Five questions there. Somebody had asked, how much input do the Packers get in the setup of the draft, and would the team consider using Lambeau as the hub of the actual draft if allowed? We don't know where the stage is going to be. We don't know how it's going to set up. And this is what Murphy said. Murphy said that they will have input, but the league will have the final say. Our setup in Green Bay will be very unique. Since the league began hosting the draft in cities across the league, most of the drafts have been held in the city's downtown areas, separate from the team's stadium and practice facilities. In Green Bay, we anticipate that the stage will be placed outside the stadium, and since the stage will be so close to Lambeau Field, we expect fans will also plan to visit and experience the stadium while watching the draft. So, anybody who's been to Lambeau, you're picturing, okay, the stadium or the stage, where's it going to fit? I got to imagine then that stage is going to take up the whole Lambeau Field parking lot, the lot that faces the Don Hutson Center. That's my guess. And then it's like I got to imagine they're going to use the Resch Center, the arena that they just remodeled where they have concerts in. That's all going to be utilized as part of this. I got to imagine that. But if the stage is, which I'm actually surprised they're going to do this outside. And I know they've had outside stages. I was at the Chicago one. They do outside stages too, so I get that. But if they're talking like the main one being out there, which yeah, okay, taking a little bit of a risk with the weather. I thought that they were going to put it in the arena and such, but if they have it outside of Lambeau Field, that's going to take up the whole lot there. It's going to be cluster. It's just going to be nothing but a cluster over there. I'm pumped the draft's going to be there. We are going to be there for the whole week. Going to be doing shows and such. But I'm still trying to imagine how the heck they're going to have that whole thing set up. Lombardi's going to have to be closed, which is going to create some havoc to try to get in there. I mean, bless the residents that are going to be living over there. I mean, it's just that whole week is going to be I mean, they're going to have some people parking on their streets and it's just, if they got to get in and out for work, it's going to be chaos for them too. So bless those people that live right next there or in the immediate areas there. But man, I can't even imagine how this thing's going to look. And Murphy's right, because like when it was in Chicago, I mean, it was in downtown Chicago off of Michigan Avenue. And it was right there. And I mean, you'd think downtown, not a lot of space, for people. There really wasn't anything for parking. Luckily, our hotel, Brandon and I's hotel, was right next to it. So parking was a breeze. But man, I don't know. I'm curious how the thing is all going to work out here. I really am. So, we'll see what, yeah. All right. A couple of you saying you can't wait to head over there. Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to head over there. I can't wait to get her going. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, back to some baseball chat here. Brewers taking 1 out of 3 against the Chicago Cubs this past weekend, getting that win against Craig Counsell on Friday, then dropping the last 2. But now they got the Kansas City Royals coming up here. We're almost approaching the first quarter of the baseball season, already in the book. So when we get to that point, we'll do our report cards, first quarter report cards, and all that good stuff. But when I look at this Brewers team and what we've seen thus far, William Contreras, I still feel like he's not getting as much credit from the national pubs out there, from the national people out there. What this guy has been able to do, we're obviously a lot of the attention is going to be on his offensive numbers, which are fantastic, especially at the catching position. But it cannot be overlooked the impact he is having with this pitching staff too. This is something that I think he has really grown in the last year plus. He came in last year kind of, mostly known for his offense, not as much for his defense, fair to say. And he has made huge strides in that, framing, gunning guys out. I mean, and just the fact of how, last year, okay, he had Corbin, he had Brandon, he had Freddie, you throw in Wade. It was kind of a veteran staff. This year, with the injuries, and then, no more Corbin, Brandon's out this year. Devin Williams, even at the closer role, hasn't been out there. Wade Miley, I mean, a couple games and boom. The way he has handled this pitching staff has been just as impressive to me as he's been with his offensive numbers. To me, William Contreras, he's not going to win it. He ain't going to win it, but he should be recognized more, I think, from a national side for the type of season he's having so far. Will he finish the season hitting over 300, hitting over 330? Yeah, probably not. Odds are probably not. But there's no doubt about it. The Brewers are in first place right now. They're in this position right now, and I think A huge chunk of that goes to the play of Contreras. And it's not to take away anything from Pat Murphy. It's not to take away, from some other players. We've talked about Yelich, the start he has been on, Terang stealing bases, some of the relief pitchers stepping up. And then you just have Mr. Consistently good Contreras, who has just been having a fantastic start to the season. You got to tip your cap to him. He has been, and I don't think the Brewers are in this position without Contreras, both offensively and what he has meant to this staff, to this pitching staff. And I just love the mindset of, I want to play every day. That's his goal. That's what he said. Wants to play every day. He's kind of an old school catcher, old school player with that mindset. I want to play every day. I want to catch every day. I want to catch every day. Not just play every day. I want to catch every day. Teams don't want him to play every single day. They don't want him to catch every day. They want to, try to keep him healthy, give him some off days and all that. We know it's a 162 game season. And I don't know if he's using it as motivation, but the way he's playing, you can't sit him. You want him in your lineup. You got to keep him in your lineup as much as possible because of what he's doing, both offensively and defensively. The guy is fantastic this year. And I think he deserves a little bit more love not from Brewers fans. I think Brewers fans and the fan base is doing that. But from a national side, they got to give him a little bit more love. All right, let's take a quick break and we'll wrap things up here this morning. Got some picks and predicts coming at you. We'll do some NBA picks, some baseball picks, Stanley Cup, all that good stuff. Final break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. The Dan Van Mobile Man Cave is going to be going in a couple days here to get our sponsor logos put on there. Big thanks to the Elbow Room, who picks and predicts coming up here. Woods and Water Realty, Toyson 4. Big thanks to all of you. Got if anybody's interested in that, maybe putting their logo on and being a part of our tailgate road trips when we go across this great state, do some mobile shows, podcasts, or even just some stops and maybe even some tailgate parties and such. Got a couple days yet. Otherwise, time's running out. So excited to hit the streets with that. I'm gonna try to put some decor in there too. Hopefully, we get some pennants and put some team swag in there too. So, but let's do some picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room here in Eau Claire. Shall we do it? We got a fairly big lineup here. Let's start with Stanley Cup. We only got one game coming at you tonight. Boston at Florida. So Boston moving on. They will squeak it through there. Game 1 tonight. I'm going to go Florida in this one. I'll go with the Panthers taking this one. Yesterday we had Dallas taking down the Golden Knights in Game 7, and then the Rangers taking Game 1 between them and Carolina. So just one tonight. We got a couple more coming at you tomorrow. Carolina at New York, and then Colorado at Dallas. So let's go to the NBA world. We got a couple games tonight. The Pacers taking on New York, and then Minnesota, Denver for Game 2. Give me the Knickerbockers. Knicks 5.5-point favorites tonight. I'm going for the Timberwolves, but I think Denver bounces back and they even up this series. They get a win tonight. Let's go with Major League Baseball schedule now. Which games do I want to pick here? Let's go with, first of all, Padres at Chicago. Ooh, that should be a good one. Yu Darvish going up against Justin Steele tonight. Give me the Padres because I want the Padres to win. Let's go Seattle at Minnesota. The Twins, their 12-game winning streak was snapped yesterday by the Boston Red Sox. Will the Twins start up a new one? I'm going to go with St. Louis tonight, though. Let's go Mets. Did I go with St. Louis? Seattle. I'm sorry. Seattle, Minnesota, because I was going to do the Mets at St. Louis. I'm going to go with the Mets on this one. Let's do Detroit at Cleveland. That could be a sneaky good one. Give me Cleveland. The Giants at Philly. Zach Wheeler, Mason Black. Give me Philly. And then Milwaukee at Kansas City. Bryce Wilson on the mound for the Crew. Cole Reagan's on the mound for the Kansas City Royals. He's 2-2 so far this year, 3.44 ERA. Brewers dropping their last 2. Give me, and Cole's won his last 2. So he started off 0-2. Now he's 2-2. Is that right? Give me the Brewers. Give me the Brewers tonight. I think they bounce back from these 2 losses and they pick up a win tonight. So that's where I'm going. All right, those are your picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room. Back to the Timberwolves. It's okay to root for the Timberwolves if you're a Bucks fan, right? That's where I'm kind of going with here. I know it violates my rules of cheering for teams in rival sports states here. Timberwolves are the exception for me, just some personal connections to some people in the organization and such. So I'm going with I'm hitching my wagon to the T-Wolves for the rest of this postseason. But going back to the question we asked in the first hour, and it's projection. You know, we're projecting here. We don't know what the next few years are going to look like. But, you know, we threw out the question, if the Bucks were to only win one championship with Giannis, would you be grateful for that or disappointed that it was only one? Because we've had that argument or discussion. I don't think it's an argument. It's a discussion. We've had that discussion. People have had that discussion surrounding the Packers with Favre and Rodgers. Disappointed it was only one apiece. Should have been more. And then when you get to the Brewers, right now at least, it's like, just give us one. We'll go through how many years of purgatory, sports purgatory. We just want one. And I don't know if it was necessarily like that with the Bucs. I mean, the Bucs kind of are the third wheel when you talk about the big three of pro sports in Wisconsin. You got the Packers, you got the Brewers, and the Bucs. And the Bucs are kind of the third wheel, I feel like, in terms of like diehard fanism. It's Packers, it's Brewers, and then it's the Bucs. If we threw the Badgers in there, maybe the Badgers are even above the Bucs there. And it looks like it's honestly about 50-50 from all of you who have texted in. A lot of you, right? I mean, 50-50, half of you saying that you'd be grateful for it because, and I'm just kind of summing it up here because we've had quite a few. But to sum it up, it's like, given the current state of how the NBA and teams are kind of put together, you're grateful that to get one, and you're grateful to have had a superstar, with your team there. I'm just kind of sum it up because from what I'm gathering here, a lot of movement around the league when it comes to superstars. Gone are the Steph Currys are not the norm, staying with one team. Kobe Bryant, the Tim Duncans, et cetera, et cetera. Then the other half are like, and again, I'm just kind of paraphrasing everything. Disappointed because got to take advantage of that superstar. If you only get one, it kind of feels like it was a little bit short. It was a little short. Should have gotten more. Not to kind of cop out or anything, but I'm kind of in the middle of this because, for one, I'm grateful. I'm grateful to have seen this Bucs team get a championship. I'm grateful that we don't have to have the conversation of best to not win a championship when it comes to Giannis, because how many times, you don't want to be in that category. You don't want to be a Karl Malone. You don't want to be a Charles Barkley. You don't want to be, one of those guys, one of the all-time greats, but no championship. So we don't have to have that. So I'm grateful we got to experience a championship for the Bucs and with Giannis. But I also understand the fact too, like, if you've got that once in a lifetime superstar, that once in a lifetime generational talent, you got to take advantage of it, and you got to hope to maybe get a couple or a few, because how often does that come around? Right? So I'm in the middle where it's like, grateful, but yeah, it sure would be nice to maybe take advantage of this era and maybe get a few. Kind of like the Warriors. Let's face it, like the Warriors did. Okay, they had Steph Curry. Yes, they had KD paired up with him for a little bit there too, but they took advantage of it. And I think that's why too, when you're looking at this offseason coming up here for the Bucs, we know Giannis is going to be there. We know Dame's going to be there. Those are like the only for sure things. And then Doc, but like player wise, all right, how do you get better? How do you get a better roster? How do you win one more? What kind of team can you put together to win at least one more? I go back to it. It's like quarterbacks in the NFL. It's not just one anymore. I almost feel like it's got for an all-time great, or for one of the best quarterbacks in the league, you almost need two now. It's not just one. It's like two. And I think it's because you can use the word multiple. They've won multiple championships. Just that one word. It seems to mean more to their legacies. Goes back to the Peyton Manning thing. And I don't know if it was just because Eli won two, but for the longest time towards the end of his career, it just felt like, okay, he just needs one more. I mean, the guy won 5 MVPs, ton of records, won a Super Bowl, lost a couple, but it was like, just needs one more. And the guy wasn't even a big factor in that year for Denver. It was their defense. But now you could say, oh, Peyton Manning won multiple championships. And I just feel like that's the case for a lot of now big-time quarterbacks. And you're seeing teams like the Chiefs. All right, Patrick Mahomes, what do we got to do? Got to take advantage of this. All-time great. They got a dynasty on their hands now. And that's where I feel like for maybe a lot of Packers fans is like, that should have been us. And you're right. Like, I'm grateful we got a Super Bowl with Favre, and I'm grateful we got a Super Bowl with Rodgers because a lot of teams are still pining for a championship. One not far from us. But it almost felt like, too, it's like, did we leave a little bit on the table? I think it's fair to say yes and yes to both. Yes, you can be grateful. Yes, you can be happy that you got one. Yes, you can be, you got to experience it. Great. But then it's also like, oh, man, I wish we could have had a little bit more. Like a what if. It's a big what if. And through this, talked about this in the first hour, but I don't know if anybody else saw this. And again, I don't want to go through a whole Rodgers, thing. But Amari Rodgers, former Packers wide receiver. So kind of made some way. Not that big of a thing out there, it seems like, but nonetheless, it was a tweet that was deleted. Now, I didn't see it live. I saw people talking about it, but there was this post about Aaron Rodgers. Oh, as a rookie wide receiver that said that Rodgers had reached out to him and, invited him to stay in his guest house and kind of been talking about, been texting back and forth, just kind of getting on the same page right away. This is a rookie wide receiver. And Amari Rodgers apparently tweeted out, promise this helps him play better as a rookie. If only I had this type of love coming to Green Bay, but to each his own. Which I think just kind of solidified a lot of stuff that Packers fans knew of. I mean, we knew Rodgers was really hard on rookie wide receivers. That one word, to build trust, right? Got to build trust. And for some players, for some receivers, I think that tough love, hard love, whatever you want to call it, probably benefited them and they grew into be great players. I think Davante Adams is one of those. Davante Adams has talked about that. But not everybody, you can't lead everybody like maybe you led Davante Adams. I think to be a good leader in anything, sports or whatever, you got to learn how to lead different. Everybody's different. Everybody, gets motivated by different things or responds differently. And I think to be that good leader, you can't always do the same thing and expect the same results for everybody. And I think that's one of the shortcomings from Rodgers is that to kind of treat everybody, young rookie receivers, if you will, the same exact way for everybody because, hey, it worked for Cobby, it worked for Davante, didn't necessarily work for everybody. And now, again, I don't want to pile on Rodgers, but was it Driver and Jennings? They kind of made comments too about, Rodgers, at a certain point was like, it's not all the receivers' fault, but kind of maybe putting the blame on receivers. It's a big what if for me now. If things were, if he had a different attitude towards maybe some younger players or some receivers, I don't know if anything would have changed. I don't know if that would have changed 2021 playoff game against the 49ers. I don't know if it would have changed other seasons where sometimes it just seemed like he was focusing on one wide receiver the whole time, Davante. I don't know. But it's a what if now. It's like, dude, I don't know. All right, shot clock's going to cut us off. So tomorrow is Tuesday. Grind My Gears Tuesday. Let us know what was grinding your gears. We'll do some cut the mustard, who didn't cut the mustard, all that good stuff. All right. DP and Danitz are up next. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your Monday morning. Get out there and golf, enjoy the weather, do some fishing, all that fun stuff. Let's do it again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Talk to you then.